We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Saturday. Saturday. Ed would normally be on today, but once again, Ed, I checked with him and he said, I got a dentist appointment. All right. Fuck you. You're retired. You got all the time in the world. And for whatever reason, we can't connect up. So Ed's not here. He'll maybe be here next week or the week after or whenever the hell he's coming. I'm going to be out of town next week. So I don't even know if we can do that. So, what we do have is Jace in, and this is very opportune. Jace is down in San Antonio, Texas,
You
right?
got it.
Right. And so he can give us some perspective on what's going on down in Texas. There's a lot of people I'm hearing from saying, well, we can flip Florida and we can flip Texas. And then I get other people. I did a live earlier and they said, no way Texas is going to flip. No way Florida is going to flip. And the fact is nobody really knows. I think the best opportunity in years is there for both of them to flip. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. What are your senses about Texas now that you're down there?
Well, I want to say on behalf of the Boomer Brigade, I'm very pissed off that Ed's not on. So because I every Saturday morning I go to the grocery store, I put you and Ed on. I'll listen to you every day.
Yeah.
So sorry, Boomer Brigade, but I'll have to do for this week.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Everybody likes listening to you too. You've got an interesting perspective.
Uh, Texas. Yeah. I honestly, I think I don't know if Texas will flip blue, but I think there's a good chance that Allred will win and beat Ted Cruz. He's outraised him in money. There's polls coming out recently saying he's actually ahead. Ted Cruz is actually trying to link him up with Kamala now, which means he's getting desperate. And my biggest thing about Colin is that he didn't embrace Kamala enough. Well,
Yeah.
that's over because he was with her last week in Houston where she was in 30 or 40,000 people. And I mean, it's just Texas has got a what do you call it, a love-hate relationship with each other. They vote against their own interest.
Right.
You have a lot of Republicans that are against school vouchers and stuff like that, but they vote for the candidates that push it. So you got a attorney general that goes after other people and uses the law to prosecute other people, but you don't have the balls to stand up for him, and he wins re-election. So with our governor, so I don't know. Will did say something which I always say. Well, it is Texas,
Yeah.
but Texas hasn't always been a red state. It's been a red
No.
state for like 30 years, and that's why I think that Florida has a better chance because people forget about Florida. They voted for Obama.
Right.
I mean, no Democrat has won here. I think they were saying that last Democrat to hold that seat that Ted Cruz holds out was Lloyd Benson, and we all remember Lloyd Benson.
Long
And
time ago.
that was a long time ago. It's a shame somebody like Lloyd Benson, if a ticket would have been flipped, he may have beat Bush. Who knows instead of Dukakis, but who knows? I mean, we saw what he did to Dan Quayle. I mean, he pretty much bitch slapped him.
Yeah. Wasn't he the one that said, I knew
He knew
JFK and you're no JFK?
RFK. He knew RFK
Uh,
Jr. I think it was RFK. Was it
no,
RFK
he
or
said JFK.
damn no? Okay.
Because
Well, if you
Quayle
don't,
said something about JFK referring to himself, and he
yes,
says, I knew Jack Kennedy and you're no Jack Kennedy.
yeah. I always liked Lloyd Benson down. I mean, it's because he always did school, like he always pushed for education and stuff. And I remember my dad, the biggest Republican, I told him you need to vote for Benson, and my dad told me he voted for Benson, which looking about it now at 52 is like ain't no way he voted for Lloyd Benson. But see, all those years, Mike, of voting Republican, there's something different about me being a Texan and other Texans. You got some Texans that will not vote for a Democrat if it was Jesus Christ and
Yeah.
and they saw him in church, rise Lazarus from the dead. If they got that D next to their name, they're not going to vote for him. And I know people like that, and they just because if they're a Democrat, they've been raised that way. I luckily had a mom that was open minded. My dad was what he was, so I think they're in the middle. And you know how mixed up my family was in '92. My dad voted for Bush, my mom voted for Perot, and I voted for Clinton. I mean, and a family, but I've always voted for the candidate more. And even in my Republican days, I forgot he just died recently. Hell, I voted for Kinky Friedman a few years ago. You talk about kind of batshit crazy, but I mean, what's different? Because I didn't want to vote for Rick Perry. You know, I
Right.
mean, it's like hell, and it's like so. You got to have open mindedness, and hopefully in Texas we'll see more of that. But I don't know, man. You have a big Hispanic population down here that they just love Trump. I mean,
Yeah.
the Republicans are going after Deep South Texas, which has been pretty a blue area. And you go down there, and they just think Trump. I don't think any of this Puerto Rican talk or. I mean, the first time he talked about Mexicans coming down the escalator in that speech, and they still voted for him. So.
Well, we can wave goodbye if Donald Trump gets in. We can wave bye to all those supporters as they get their ass deported out of the
Me and you too.
country.
We'll be in the boat with them.
Yeah, probably because we're libtards. You brought up one other Texas politician that we were talking about beforehand, and that is George W. Bush.
Mm.
He's one of the few Republicans of the past that hasn't come out to support Kamala Harris. Nicole, what's her name?
Nicole Wallace.
Nicole Wallace used
Her
to work for him.
She worked for him.
She used to work for him, and she said, "Come on, you got to support Kamala Harris," and he has yet to do it. I don't know what the fuck he's waiting for. I don't really care if he endorses her or not, but that would be the smart thing to do. But leave it to George Bush to drop the fucking ball again.
Well, it would probably be the one time in recorded history that George Bush didn't do what Dick Cheney fucking told him to do. I mean, he didn't do that when he was governor. I mean, when he was governor, he actually was a decent governor. And if I'm wrong, I know as far as education, but he wasn't the disaster he was as president. He was actually a popular governor. And Richard would disagree, but he wasn't what he was as president. So I don't know. He's always been kind of a joke. I mean, they've always made fun of him, and it's like his own daughter came out and endorsed Kamala, but she's always kind of been the Democrat in the family. I noticed the other one hasn't. I haven't heard the other one say anything, but I think his wife was a Democrat too. But it comes a time when you have so many Republicans, telling people, yeah, I don't agree with Kamala. I don't, what she has in mind is not what I have in mind. But if she wins, we'll have another election. He wins. Honestly, Mike, I was thinking about it, and these people, and I get texts like you, probably not as many as you, but people freaking out and stuff. And, honestly, if Trump wins this election, which he won't, we both know that.
No, he won't.
If he wins, we have more fucking problems than we know about. Because if the majority of the people vote for that guy, we're in worse trouble. We're over anyway. And I'm not being dramatic. That's how it is.
Well, George W. Bush, prior to Donald Trump, I consider the dumbest president we've ever fucking had. He left this country in a shambles when Obama took over. We'd never been in a worse economic situation than when George W. Bush left. He was an absolute failure. And frankly, maybe he thinks he's doing her a favor by not attaching his name to Kamala Harris, because he was an absolute failure. And I thought he was the absolute worst president. And my running joke was, after Donald Trump had been president, Donald Trump became president, I said, I kind of miss George Bush, and I hate that motherfucker. And so now George is a joke. He's an old guy. He's feeble now. Who cares what he says? I mean, it's just all an empty endorsement. Even if he endorses her, it's not going to do any good. The fact that he doesn't endorse her isn't going to hurt her. Who cares? George W. Bush can fade off into history.
Well, that's why I think that Kamala's going to win, and win so decisively, because in 2020, you didn't have this with Biden. You didn't have Liz Cheney. You didn't have Dick Cheney. No. You didn't have a lot of these Republicans supporting Biden. Were they not out in the open anyway? They probably voted for him because they didn't want to vote for Trump. But what you're seeing with her is, hell, it's like, most of the newspapers here in Texas have supported her. The Houston Chronicle did, which is a big one. I believe the San Antonio Express News, which is a big one. And then when it's like, and you have this thing that, Democracy Dies in Darkness from the
Yeah.
Washington Post. And it's like you have a lot of these people that actually have less to lose than these Republicans. Hell, look, Liz Cheney, as much as I don't agree with her doing the right thing cost her seat in the House.
Yeah, but she knew the fucking thing was burning down and she'd be the last man standing. I mean, she made a calculated guess here. She knew what was going on was going to burn the whole party down, and a lot of other people should have recognized that. But she's going to be standing strong, looking like she has integrity and credibility. She put herself in a good position. I don't know where that's going to take her because I don't know that her type of politics is going to be popular going forward. I don't think hardcore conservatism is going to hang on. But she got off while the getting was good because all these other people are going to have this stink of Donald Trump hanging on them for the rest of their careers.
And that's my point. She did that. She did the right thing. You have a lot of Republicans doing it, and she's got the independence because I think that's been shown too.
Mm-hmm.
And you got people like Nikki Haley that are like begging. She's like that girl that got jilted at the dance, that waiting for that guy to call that dumped her, and they're waiting to call her back.
Yeah.
But she said something bad about him on Facebook, so he's not going to fucking man up and call her. And it's like Mark Cuban said it as a Spurs fan. It's just weird for me to be defending Mark Cuban as a Mavericks fan, a Mavericks owner. But he said you look at it, he doesn't have strong women around him.
No.
It's like not surprising him than Nikki Haley, because Nikki Haley hurt his feelings. His daughter Ivanka's not there. I don't see her. Hell, look what he did to his ex-wife. He put her in a freaking ground with no headstone. And I've known people that have buried their kin. I buried their like loved ones, and they didn't get a headstone because they couldn't afford it. Well, that motherfucker can afford it. Yeah. So he has no respect for women. And they're really starting to see that, because especially in like Pennsylvania with all the early voting, and you see some of the you see. Well, I don't really pay attention to the polls. I still look at them. I mean, anybody that pays attention does. But what they came out with was a poll of voters that already voted, and she's up big time, especially with women.
Yeah,
she's up like, I saw some poll that went out that she was up like 10, 11 points on people that already voted.
Yeah.
And the media is making this big mistake right now. They're talking about, well, Republicans vote early. Yeah, but not all Republicans are voting for him.
Well, there you go. And you don't need a lot of Republicans to pull away from Donald Trump. You need maybe 2, 3, 4, 5%, and it's fucking over. Because you need a unified party if you're going to be a Republican candidate for president. What's interesting is Donald Trump, as we're in the home stretch of this election, Donald Trump continually does and says things that would be the end of any candidate in any campaign in past history. I mean, there's a new resurgence on TikTok for young people of the Access Hollywood tape. Young kids who were too little to understand are playing it now and go, what the fuck is that? There's that. This is a war against women, and it started in 2015, and it continues to this day. The Republicans are getting nervous, especially with regards to Pennsylvania, because they're seeing an inordinate amount of women registering and voting early. And they know that's a problem. For some reason, they think women don't like Donald Trump, and I don't know what it could be. Could it be he said he liked to grab them by the genitals? Could it be that he was found liable of rape? Could it be that he defamed the woman that he raped? Could it be overturning Roe v. Wade and taking constitutional rights away from all women and putting them in physical danger? Could it be him just saying, I don't care what they want. I'm going to make them do what I want because I know better. Yeah, the women are going to come out here. The women are going to win this for Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump is going to get buried because of what he's done. And every day he comes out with something different. Then he comes out and says, Liz Cheney, what if she was standing in front of 9 barrels shooting at her head? It's fucking stupid. And then just last night after that, he was talking about challenging Liz Cheney to a fucking fight. What? I'll fight Donald Trump. I'm an old man. I'm not in the best shape, but I know I can kick his ass.
Yeah, I think what you have Gary Hart somewhere looking like, what the fuck? And if any of your listeners aren't familiar with Gary Hart and how he got disqualified from the presidential election, he had a girl who he was probably banging. We all agree with that. Sit on his lap.
Yeah.
That's how far we've come with this, because the Republicans were in such a tizzy about, because they're the family of, like, they're the family values, family values party. Like when Bill Clinton said, "I'm so sick and tired of family values," I knew what he was talking about, because they pegged that guy to be, with Monica Lewinsky. And it's like Trump is like, they call him the Teflon Don is what they used to call Gotti about that.
Yeah.
But eventually Gotti's armor cracked too when he was convicted. He got caught, I think, paying off jurors and stuff like that. Well, Trump shit's coming. And what I think also too about the women stuff is that, it's like this stupid shit goes on, and it's like his supporters are doubling down. And they're doing that because the media is sane washing this bullshit. And that's
Right.
exactly what it is, sane washing.
Right.
I mean, Mike, you talked to yourself 20 years ago. Would a 34-time convicted felon be the party's nomination from a party that said they're the party of law and order? I guarantee you, 25 years ago, this Republican voter would be fucking voting for a felon.
25 years ago, you might not get elected or nominated if you were divorced.
Exactly.
And back in the early 70s, you mentioned Gary Hart. There was another guy who was a vice presidential nominee for McGovern. His name was Thomas Eagleton. They ended up dumping him as a VP candidate and trading him out for Sergeant Shriver, who was a Kennedy connection. But Thomas Eagleton was the vice presidential nominee before the election through the primaries and such. But they dropped him. And you know why they dropped him?
Is that because he went to a psychiatrist?
He went to a psychiatrist to get some help. Those were the things that got you kicked out of a race. Now, Donald Trump is making threats against a former member of the House of Representatives. He's inciting riots, inciting insurrections. It's amazing how much this country is deteriorated as far as what we will accept, the integrity of this country. And I think it has largely to do, you talk to the Trump-la-fucks, I talk to the Trump-la-fucks, and every day I just go, Jesus Christ, how can you be so stupid? My wife was talking to some people from outside the country, and they say, we're voting for Donald Trump. Immigrants in this country going to vote for Donald Trump. You got to be absolutely stupid if you're an immigrant and you vote for Donald Trump, because he's going to be trying to deport 15, 16 million people. And if you're an immigrant, whether you're legal or not, as long as you're brown or some different color than he is, you're fucking gone. And you're going to vote for that. Well, I got to tell you what I would tell those people. Say, listen, if you vote for Donald Trump and Donald Trump gets in and you're an immigrant, a brown immigrant, you vote for Donald Trump, guess what? I'm going to wave to you on the fucking bus because I'm an old white man. I ain't going nowhere.
Well, if they would really pay attention, I would say to them, well, you're an immigrant and you're from out of this country. Are they like in the country? Are they sending their votes in? Or are they like actually an immigrant in this country?
Immigrant in this country.
Okay, because you also got that their party they're voting for, the Republicans. They're trying to stop international ballots from coming in from overseas, the so-called party of the military. And the Republicans have had that for so long, and it's because of the Reagan thing that, and everything. And they're a bunch of war hawks like Lindsey Graham and,
Liz Cheney.
But, I don't like ladybugs myself, but I wouldn't want him dead. I wouldn't, say that he should be, killed like that. I mean, it's so funny. The people and all these people I'm an agnostic. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have any faith like I used to, but I'm told day in, day out by these supporters that Trump's a man of God. Hell, here I am, and I'm called a heathen, which is fine. You look up the word, it describes me, a pagan, whatever. And it's like, I got more sympathy for my fellow man on the other side than this so-called man of God. It's like, the movie Moonstruck with Cher, snap out of it. I mean, it's like that's what you want to do to these people. I mean, here I am advocating violence as I'm just, not really, but I mean, it's just like, I don't know what it's going to take. The man has said who he is since the beginning. And you have people like me that were on that side voting for that party see him and go, oh, I don't want none of that shit. Because I knew who Trump was before.
Yeah.
And he has shown us more of who he is in these last 9 years, 10 years than I knew about him before I knew I didn't want to vote for him. So it's just doubling down because you don't want to vote for somebody with a deer name, or you're a racist or you're a sexist.
Well, we've got another immigrant that might be a problem in this country and that may get deported. I don't know if you heard about this. Elon Musk, who is from South Africa. He's a naturalized citizen in this country, but he is an immigrant first and foremost. Apparently, when he was coming into this country, he lied a bit on his application. He was talking about starting college at Stanford or Princeton or something like that. But he never did that. He started a company using daddy's money, probably, but he never went to college. And then later on, he reapplied and he may have lied again. Now, if they find out that that's true, he could be denaturalized and put in jail for 5 years. There's so much stuff going on now. Nothing's going to come out till after the election. But if I was Elon Musk and Donald Trump loses, I'd be a little nervous because some motherfuckers are going to be looking at you.
Well, he's on that trial that there was some kind of thing, I guess, for paying off those voters. There was some kind of trial today that he wanted it moved to federal, and it got denied. So, I think the people, the courts and stuff, everybody's, talking about, well, what if Mike Johnson this or the states don't do this?
You can't do shit.
Well, what you're not hearing about all the cases that the Republicans are losing. They're losing these cases. The Supreme Court did something today that it was some kind of there was some kind of, I guess, voting not to be counted or something like that. And they didn't hear that. I mean, the Supreme Court is doing what they did in 2020.
Yeah.
They're probably seeing what's coming. They know they fucked up with Roe Wade. Are they sorry? No. But they got to see that. And you mentioned something earlier, and my ADD, I forgot to mention it. You said something the other day about the Republicans have to be united to win. That has been something that I knew about since 2012, because when, in 2012, Obama won. But what I was told as a Fox viewer by the Megyn Kellys and the Hannitys and O'Reilly's is that, Romney was going to win because Obama wasn't very popular because of Obamacare and all that stuff. But what I heard some guy tell me that, this is before Trump, and I think this is why Trump's so endeared to the Republicans. They know that the Republicans have to have everybody behind them to win, because they're what they stand for is dying out. And this was back in, 2012.
Right.
So you have it now, and the media, they talk about, and one of the biggest ones, one of the biggest, I guess, liars out there as far as polls is The Hill.
Yeah.
The Hill, 2 weeks ago, they had her up by 10. Now they have him up by 6. And it's like, you can't tell me that's not being manipulated.
Absolutely.
And The Hill used to be respected, but it's just, they have people on there, and if you look them up that write these stories, I mean, they're people that work for Trump. I mean, you have an occasional Democrat on there, but but they're not talking, the media is not talking about is all those people that voted for Haley. They didn't vote for Haley because she's, their favorite. They voted because they cannot vote for Trump.
Right.
That is very underrated.
Right. And The Hill is, as I understand, The Hill is owned by some Republican oligarch too. So you can't take The Hill as much of a source. You were talking about the Supreme Court, and they came up with a decision today. I can just read it here. The United States Supreme Court has dismissed an effort by Republicans to prevent the counting of provisional ballots in Pennsylvania, a move that would have meant thousands of votes were not tallied. Republicans in the state, which Joe Biden and the Democrats narrowly won in 2020 U.S. presidential election, on their way to victory, had argued that tens of thousands of votes could be at stake and ought to have been rejected. So once again, the Republicans, the Supreme Court doesn't want to hear it. And, that's one of the things that I always talk about. Everybody was talking about Georgia for a while. Oh my God, the Republicans are going to make a hand count. Oh my God, they're going to delay the certification. They're going to do this and that. You don't hear them talking about Georgia anymore. And you know why? Because Kamala's legal team went in there and beat them on every case. So a lot of the issues, not all the issues, but a lot of the issues that everybody was so concerned about in Georgia aren't a thing, because these guys just pull this shit out of their ass. They don't have any basis for saying it. They just say it. And when it goes to court, even the Supreme Court can't do anything with it because it's so ridiculous.
Well, talking about that whole Georgia stuff, that it's so funny that I would never vote for him, but the Brian Kemps of the world, the Liz Cheneys, they're the ones out there. Yeah, Brian Kemp's not going to come out against Trump, but I guarantee you probably won't vote for him.
I bet you will on the 6th.
You think he will?
A lot of people will on the 6th after he loses. They're going to want to get away from that motherfucker quick as they can.
You think Brian Kemp will vote for Trump, or you think he'll vote against him in the election?
Didn't he say he was going to vote for Trump? I mean,
yeah,
this
but
is what they
that's
do.
what I'm saying. That's my point. I'm saying, like, the Liz Cheneys that come out publicly and say they're not going to vote for him, Trump. There are going to be a lot of people like Brian Kemp that, they're smart. They will vote against Trump because they want Trump to, and like all the other stuff that Trump was doing. Even Mike Johnson is humoring Trump. He knows he's going to lose. He knows that he has no power. But Trump has a worse attention span than I do, and I have the one of a gnat. I get squirrel. It's like he is so, like you always say, he's so in the moment.
Yeah.
He doesn't plan ahead. You know who planned ahead and deserves more credit than anything, and that's Joe fucking Biden.
Yeah.
Because everybody talks about her campaign and what she's doing. That's Biden's campaign.
Right.
That's her foundation. She probably brought in her own people. Nothing against Kamala. I voted for her Tuesday, up and down blue. But it's, the thing about it is that Biden, and they're talking about all this in Pennsylvania too, that the Republicans are starting to worry they don't have a ground game. Yeah, the Democrats have been building this ground game. They've been building this for 4 years because they saw this shit coming. They got the lawyers out there, and they can do up there, and they can throw, they can. What the Republicans are going to do on election, they're saying, well, Trump's going to claim he won. Well, I can claim I have a full fucking head of hair. I don't mean it's true. They're going to throw spaghetti against the wall, see what sticks. And if they get like one person that hears them, oh, we won, or whatever, and they're sowing the doubts into the base, because I hear people now that are Republicans, they're like questioning stuff. He succeeded in that. It ain't going to make a bit of fucking good because everybody, always claims shit's rigged.
Yeah. I've always had a problem with People magazine, because after all these years, I have never been voted sexiest man in the world.
Hey man, you got my vote, dude.
It's a fucking hoax.
Yeah.
It's rigged. George Clooney.
Yeah.
Like he's competition.
Brad Pitt. Who the hell heard of that guy?
Oh, fuck is Brad Pitt. But anyway, the thing you have to note, and nobody will admit it, is kind of what you alluded to, is that the vast majority of the Republicans want Donald Trump gone as much as Democrats do, because he's absolutely destroyed the Republican Party. He's burned it to the ground, and they're just afraid to step up and say they were wrong at this point. They're going to ride this thing to the end. And you're right. They know they're going to. I mean, when you look at the polls and you hear how they talk, I mean, up till a couple of days ago, Donald Trump and the Republicans thought they'd win this in a walk. They thought they'd win this in a landslide, which is absolutely crazy. I don't know if they're trying to convince themselves or just trying to set things up so they can make the argument after the fact. It could be a combination of both. But I think the Republicans, if they have any sense, understand what's going to happen. And there's going to be a sigh of relief by the Republicans when Donald Trump is finally fucking done.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's been mentioned before that whole MAGA movement, what was called the Tea Party before, right. It's always going to be there. There's always 30% of the population that's fucking nuts. I
True.
mean, that's always, something that you're going to have to account for. I mean, Reagan, cut, mental health. I mean, I'm not making a joke of mental healthness, health, easy for me to say, mental health. I mean, a lot of it's underfunded, and you
All of
have
it.
a
Yeah.
lot of people that are homeless because they got the help they need. But that's the first thing they cut. They cut social programs. Hell, they want to cut, after school programs. They want to get rid of the Department of Education. And it's I hear these people too. It's like, well, Trump disavowed Project 2025. You just hear the guy speak, and he's not saying Project 2025, but it's the same bullshit.
It's
They've they've always had a hard on for the Department of Education. Rick Perry wanted to do that, and he couldn't even say all three he'd cut. But they want to like slash and burn, and that's all they do. But they had no backup plan. Like there was another Mike Johnson got caught on tape again, or something saying that they're going to go after the CHIPS Act next.
Yeah, he said the Democrats will repeal the CHIPS Act, just trying to come up with some narrative, some rhetoric to work against the Democrats. The Democrats were the force behind it. It was a bipartisan bill, but it was the Democrats were behind it. The idea that the Democrats would repeal it once they've gotten power. Mike Johnson said the quiet part out loud, though. They're going to repeal it, meaning he knows they're going to get the power too. He knows they're going to win the House.
Yeah, don't scare anybody who you said Democrats. Republicans want to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Because if it's like and it's funny. I'm listening to a audio book on FDR because I've always kind of admired presidents that like when McCain was running, he always liked Teddy Roosevelt. So you read up on him, and he was talking about the Republicans, how even back then they were like the luckiest fuckers around because it's like they didn't really propose legislation. This is back in the 20s.
Yeah.
They just wanted to tear everything down that the Democrats did. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it's
Well, that sounds familiar.
yeah, it's the same thing. And it's just, I mean, both parties have had their issues, but it's like, and Kamala said it best, is like, are you going to vote for, and they're running a lot of those commercials down here with ex-Republicans saying, well, Trump said he's a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I mean, you got to vote for your best interest. Case in point, I know a friend of mine that's one of those Republicans that votes for all Republicans because of the DNR.
Right.
His wife is on disability. And I hate to tell it to him, if Trump gets in there, his wife ain't going to be on nothing. And him and his wife are both Hispanic, and they both probably went to vote for Trump today.
Probably.
And it's just like, I don't know what I need. And their kids are all blue. It's great. And and I have talks with him, but he's an old school, and he just was one of those Republicans that just wasn't open minded. I was told back in the day. I remember when I was kind of against the Republicans, and I kind of had questions about it when I voted for Clinton. And one of my bosses told me, "Well, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything." And I'm like, dude, I mean, I don't need a freaking, I don't need a Waltons moment. You know what I mean? I'm using my fucking head, but it is so in their head, and it is so that evil D, and it's like, and you tell them, it's like, well, look what Johnson did. Look what, I mean, the Democrats lost that other side, the racist side, because of what he passed, and fine, he didn't mind that going because he passed the legislation for the you help me out, Mike. What Johnson passed what did he pass that they said that he would, like, the Democrats would lose the Southern vote? It was
the budget bill, one of the budget
no,
bills.
it was Johnson, Lyndon Johnson. He passed the
civil rights.
Yes, I should know that, but that totally turned the South against Democrats. And, you have, points there and everything, but, talk about, doing something you think is right. Was Johnson perfect? No, not a flawed man. But it's like those policies, do you realize that if stuff like that wasn't done, and this guy that you're wanting to vote for he thinks those are the good old days. What is wrong with you? I mean, I get so kind of flustered with it is because, I see my friends that are minorities. Well, Texas, they're not going to be minority. They're going to be the population.
Right.
And I go, how can you vote for somebody like that? And you know what they do, Mike? They look at me and, well, you're a freaking cracker, so to speak. If they call me that, you're going to vote for Trump. Why are you standing with Trump? And it's like, because it's like I see beyond the race thing, and I don't look at the machismo thing. And I never had a problem voting for a minority. I never had a problem voting for a woman. You
No.
got to fucking just not have your glasses off sometimes and fucking take a look at yourself and listen to what the fucker's saying. He's telling you out loud what he's doing. He's Colonel Sanders telling you, I want to fucking eat you. I want to fry you up and eat you. You know what? You got my vote. What the fuck, dude?
Well, there's no accounting for the stupid people in this country, and there's more stupid people than I ever imagined, and it's a little disconcerting. And thank God it's only 25 to 30%. That's a lot, but thank God it's only that, because if we're going to continue to be led by stupid people, this country isn't long for this world. These people, you and I, we're old white men. No matter what happens, we're going to be fine. Nobody's going to touch us unless they try to fuck with Social Security. And I don't see them doing that, because I think Roe v. Wade is the big issue right now. You want to have an issue that buries you, go after Medicare and Social Security. Everybody is affected by that. They will shut you down so fucking fast you won't know what hit you.
Well, Trump told me, and one of his Republican buddies told me that they're fighting for Social Security.
Yeah,
that's what the commercial said. Mike, you don't believe them?
No, because I know they went into the House trying to do something with Social Security. It's ironic that's the thing. They will say anything, and people are so ill-informed that they will believe anything that comes out of Republicans' mouth. And that's one of the things that bugs me. Every time I get somebody coming to my page worried about something that's being said, I got somebody came to me and they said, oh, Trump's winning Pennsylvania by a bunch. No, he's not. He's not. And I said, where did you get that? Well, it's on the news. Well, who said it? And they said, Trump. When are you going to stop listening to fucking Trump? He's a pathological liar. He's never told the truth since he's been in public office. Jesus Christ. How can you stand there as a Democrat, listen to him, and then become afraid because he's lying to you? Just fucking stop.
I think what people are forgetting too is that anytime abortion is on the ballot, Republicans lose.
Yeah.
It happened in Oklahoma, happened in Ohio, and happened in Kansas. And I saw I don't think it was Mark. Was it Mark Cuban? Was talking to somebody today. It's like, why does this lady was like, why is abortion always her main issue? Because it's not just about abortion. It's about women's choice. I mean, it's about not having a freaking Republican or any kind of senator or congressman in your doctor's office.
It's about stories like Old Soul tells us, like
yes.
a 19-year-old girl has a miscarriage. She needs attention medically. She goes into a doctor in Texas and they say they can't do anything yet. So she sits for 40 hours with this miscarriage, gets sepsis and dies. A 19-year-old girl, or a baby that was never going to be born because the doctors are afraid they're going to be prosecuted. That's what this is about. Women should have the right to decide what to do with their own bodies. I mean, isn't the very thing we want? Don't we strive for survival? When we're sick, I mean, really sick, we go to the doctor and hope they're going to do something. But when you go to the doctor and they won't do anything, that's got to be absolutely terrifying. You know you're sick, you know you're dying, and they refuse to do something. That's on the doctors to a certain extent, but that's on Republican politicians, because they're making the decisions of whether women live or die. And this is why this is a war against women.
Yeah, and the thing about it is a friend of mine that Trump voter and was defending him for what he said against Liz Cheney. He's got 2 grown daughters, and I go, yeah, you ought to be grateful they live in blue states.
Yeah.
So the thing about they gave Kamala so much crap for was like, oh, women going bleeding out in their cars. Well, sorry, it was the wrong freaking place they were bleeding out in. But you know what? They're still fucking bleeding out because it won't be treated.
Right.
In our wonderful state, something that happened today that I wasn't aware of. is that when you're in a hospital, I guess even like I would be asked this: are you a United States citizen? I mean, when I get asked that when I'm at the border fucking patrol.
Yeah.
My stepmother, she lives down in a little town called McAllen, which is right on the border. And I drive up there all the time, and there's a border check there. They got the dogs out. And it's like every time I drive by, I want to ask them, hey, where are these open borders they've been talking about? Because I got to stop here. They put the dogs on my vehicle. I don't see no open borders here.
Yeah.
And it's like now I'm going to be asked, down there, United States citizen, sir? And I go, yes, sir, I am. Because I am.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the fucking hospital and my fucking heart's about to explode, are you a United States citizen? I mean, what the fuck? What the fuck? Seriously?
The contradiction here is that doctors, and I don't know this absolutely, but there's a Hippocratic Oath.
Mm-hmm.
And in that Hippocratic Oath, it suggests do no harm.
Yep.
Now, by doing nothing, you're doing harm. So that's got to be a contradiction to the oath they take. It's pressure put on by politicians, and that might explain why a lot of these people are getting the fuck out of these red states because they can't practice their profession fully in a red state. And that's the red state's going to pay a price. They're not going to have fucking doctors. People are going to be tired of being at risk of going to prison for simply doing their fucking job.
And what you're going to have too, Mike, is you're going to have, like in Florida with, you were talking about how, insurance companies won't insure certain places.
Right.
I can see that happening here to where insurance companies won't be insuring in Texas for doctors.
Right.
Because if, a doctor fails to treat somebody, and yeah, it could be a law, but somebody brings a case against, Greg Abbott and his, buddies, they may sue the doctor too. The doctor's hands are tied. He may want to help them, but he could end up in prison too. Insurance companies aren't going to touch that shit. I mean, you're going to be looking at Texas like Florida, uninhabitable. I mean, it's fucking scary. It's the clowns have caught the dog has caught the car, I guess, chasing it. Now the dog's like, what the fuck do I do now?
Yeah.
Roe versus Wade will probably, in addition to Trump, will seek the Republican Party.
Absolutely.
And you're right. I think there are going to be places, maybe Texas is one of them, that turn blue because a lot of people are upset about the voucher stuff, because of what, and a lot, don't give me, and you can't tell me that all Republican voters are happy with what happened with Paxton. I mean, getting away with that shit. I mean, they had him dead to right on that shit. And the Republicans bowed to that. And now, and it's like, you had the guy that was one of Paxton's biggest enablers, Dan Patrick, and it's like, those guys are lucky that they're not running in this thing with Kamala because I think she may help Allward win and she may win Texas. I see Florida going before that. Maybe even like, Eric mentioned Iowa, because I mean, there were a lot of people there, but like when I voted on Tuesday, they've had like unprecedented voting here in San Antonio, and San Antonio is pretty blue. Right. I read an article that their Democrats are putting a lot of money here because they think if Allred's going to get elected, it could be through here and like the blue, the blue parts. And what happens if that happens is that, it may be down ballot to help some of these, Democrats get elected, like the Texas Supreme Court, which is crazy. And then you have some of these that can get in the legislature where they can stop this school voucher bullshit. Because you have Republicans that don't want that stuff either, especially in the rural areas.
Right.
Because they ain't getting none of those private schools out there. The war on public education is just, it's got to stop. And I'm hoping that's as big. It may not be big as abortion, but I'm hoping that's a big move too, that people are tired of Republican rule because, goddamn, I mean, it's like all my friends that are Republicans bitch about how things are. It's like, well, goddamn. Republicans have been in charge, especially in Texas, and fucking do a change. If you don't like it, vote them out the next time. But goddamn, like Willie says, let's vote them out.
Well, I think the big thing that's going to happen here is turnout. We had a huge turnout in 2020, and I have a feeling that it's going to be even bigger in 2024. What I find kind of interesting is how panicky the Republicans are. There's a lot of threats being made. Donald Trump, of course, is making all kinds of threats because he is losing his shit. But even the Republicans are making threats and trying to influence this election. You were talking about something that was going on down in Texas that I think is hilarious.
Yeah, there's I guess a group called the Trump Clan with a KLAN, not a
Of
C.
course.
And I guess they're putting signs on people's doors that maybe, I guess, have a Harris sign in their yard, or maybe a bumper sticker like saying you've been identified and are now in a national database. And it's like,
Which means they have a Facebook page.
yeah, exactly. You know, that may work with certain people, but I don't think it's working now. What I see a lot of, and besides the people that we deal with that are on the edge, I see a lot of people that are tired of this shit.
Absolutely.
Like I see a lot of people that aren't necessarily creators on TikTok like me that just follow you and like Eric and Will, and and just yeah on your comments, yeah. I don't really post stuff of my own. I see people coming out saying they're tired of this shit, and it's exhausting. And you know that Republicans, independents, especially women, are tired of this shit. Because was Roe perfect? No, but with the Republicans, you get them out there and saying they had nothing to do with it. Then you got Trump out there saying he did it, and then the next
Yeah.
day he says he didn't do it. I mean, and we talk about all the shit that's going on and how people are scared. I think that's Trump's thing, is just to keep so much shit like we mentioned the spaghetti, but this is more like a monkey at the zoo throwing shit at you.
Yeah.
There's so much shit going on that I had forgotten about this Klan thing. I had forgotten that that they did that lawsuit against the those Trumpers and the flag that were trying to run that Biden Harris bus off the thing. I think that Wendy Davis was in. It's Texas. It got dismissed.
Yeah. Of course it did.
You forget this shit because they want to make it that where you can't pay attention. That well, yeah, Trump was president one time and she doesn't have any experience. I'm going to vote for Trump. That's what he's going for.
Yeah.
All the shit going on, and like when he says, oh, oh, they may do something in Israel. And I saw something stupid today. Well, the jobs report was a bad time for Harris. And I'm like, nobody's fucking voting on that. You know what I mean? It's like,
And we still got 17 million fucking jobs this year, which is
yeah,
far and away better than anybody else has ever done.
but it's like they just throw so much shit at the fan that, like, they pray that the ones that are less informed, stupid people, are going to vote for him. I
Yeah.
mean, it's and that's what he's hoping. And I think that may have worked in 16 because we didn't really know the shit show. But I mean, he affected a lot of things. A lot of his base died in COVID
Absolutely.
because of his
Not
his
to
life.
mention, not to mention 5,000 boomers a day.
Yes. And Gen X is right behind you, so that makes me feel real comfortable.
Yeah. Well, Gen X may get a bad rap. I'm close to Gen X. I'm
Yeah.
4 years off of Gen X.
Gen X
Kamala
loves
Harris is
Trump.
right on the cusp. So
Gen X loves Trump. I know a lot of my friends love Trump, so it's like I just
there's going to be a lot of disappointed people. And I got to tell you, I would love nothing more than a Trump fan come up and say some shit to me. Because, I told this story. My wife was wearing I voted for um, Gus Walls' dad. And I
yeah.
said, what happens if a Trump humper comes up against you? She goes, I'm not worried about that. I go, really? Why? Because I'll have you step in, and by the time you get done with them, they'll be fucking crying. And that's true. It's not hard to break these people down. They're not smart people. I'm not worried about them getting physical with me because they're usually, just coming out of a Golden Corral buffet and they're full and they got
Hey now,
indigestion.
man. We have a lot of those down here, man. I take that personal.
You know what? There was a time I loved buffets, and I still love them. Down in Savannah, there's this one amazing buffet, and the trouble is I can't eat as much as I used to, so I don't feel like I'm getting full value for my dollar. So I don't go to a buffet as much anymore. But the only thing uh, uh, better than good food is a lot of it back in the day. And unfortunately, with my advanced age, I just can't handle it.
I'm right behind you.
I'm in distress after I go to do something like that. But these people are absolutely panicking right now. They'll tell you we're going to win in a landslide, and I've gotten to the point with most of these people when they say stuff, I just kind of laugh at them. I had kind of a cathartic moment. I get this every so often because I decided to change some things. When I did a live earlier yesterday, just out of the blue, I said, fuck it, I'm doing a live. I don't even know if my moderator's around. I'm just going to throw caution to the wind. I'm tired of these motherfuckers. So I go on there, and it turns out one of my moderators did jump in. So that was helpful. But what's great is I go down the list of the comments and stuff like that, and I can tell when a Trump bumper is coming up, and they'll say, say something uh, that suggests that they're Trump bumpers. So I can pull them up, punch them up, and block them. But before I block them, I insult them some fucking way. I'll say, what has Kamala done in 3.5 years?
Yeah,
I'll say something. Well, she hasn't shit her pants and she hasn't attacked women. Fuck you, you're gone. And people seem to enjoy these people getting their comeuppance.
people don't even like people that know me don't even bother. Like it's funny. Like I used to do a podcast, and the guy that I did the podcast with, Trumper, and we never really got into it. And then one time he let something slide, and I kind of told him off. And
You're not doing that podcast anymore,
I'm
by
not
the
doing
way.
that podcast anymore. And it's like I've kind of noticed things like on Facebook. I don't put as much stuff on there. Like I'll put something on there, but I don't, not all the time, but I'll put something on there about what's going on and stuff. People don't fuck with me anymore. I mean, I had some relatives that did, but I think they've just given up on me. I'm the black sheep of the family. You couldn't, you know, I'm the black sheep of the family. I'm a, pagan and a Democrat. So it's like, they don't mess their time with me, and it's comforting because, I mean, I'm not saying I'm like you or like some of these creators, but I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm confident in what I'm talking about, and it's like I believe, and unlike when I was a Republican, I actually believe the shit that I'm hearing. When I hear a representative, like when I listen to Joe Biden, when I listen to Kamala, I listen to your governor. I mean, I had an argument with somebody at work that was telling me they were from Minnesota, and they were, oh, I like your governor, and she's like, oh no, and I knew exactly, and it's like I kicked myself. I go, God damn it, Jason, you know better than to do that down here. And she started giving me this stuff about like he didn't help old people out, and I was like, well, I don't really want to hear it, and I didn't know enough about him to put myself in that thing, but it's like every once in a while I catch myself, and you realize, hey, it's Texas. Right. You have people that that talk about their parents not getting Social Security, but they're going to vote for the guy that's going to fucking take it away from them. So it's like pick your battles.
Well, it's funny when I've run into Trump fucks who know me, and they start to say something. They go, I don't want to argue with you. You're a professional. I go, yeah, I'm a professional, but I also know the facts. See, they're used to. I mean, the whole attempt of threatening people and getting in people's face. It's the bull. It's the bullying strategy, and the problem with bullies, if you know they're a bully and you know how to handle bullies, they become cowards very quickly. So if someone comes up to me and says, Kamala did this and Trump did that, and then when I say, well, that's not exactly how it fucking goes. Let me explain it to you. Let me run down the fucking facts for you. And and they'll say something and I'll smirk at them. And I said, that's adorable, but it's not true. And, I'll make fun of them as I go along. And it never turns out well. And finally they say, I don't know. That's what I believe. And I said, well, unfortunately, you are under the wrong impression and you're wrong. And if you're good with that, I'm fine with it too, because there's a certain amount of stupid people in this country. And they end up not liking me much after that, but I don't really care because, it's like if you're a bad person and you don't like me, I wear that as a badge of honor. I'm glad. I don't mind having people dislike me. I got to get in fucking line.
Hell, if you're a good person, you don't like me, I don't fucking care because I got to be me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Some of them have come to my page and tried to pressure me. One guy says, "I know your last name." So the fuck what? Everybody knows my last name. I'm not hidden anything. What are you
Yeah.
going to do? Go to my boss? Oh, don't have a boss. You going to go to my family? Nope, they agree with me. What are you going to do? I mean, before I was doing this, I was in a business and I have a LinkedIn page and I have a regular Facebook page and I posted Trump stuff on there. It ain't hard to find my last name. Big fucking deal. I don't care because those motherfuckers don't scare me, as Bernie Mac once said.
The thing about it too is that, even if you do work for something, it's your personal time. Like if, say, I worked for Avon or Mary Kay, right? And I was wearing a Mary Kay shirt in pink and I was doing the Rational Boomer or doing these things, that's one thing. But when I mean, last time I looked, there's freedom of speech.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I'm not calling for anybody, unless I'm running for the Republican nominee, calling for anybody to get, hurt. That's the only person that seems can do it. It's funny with all this kind of stuff going on. It's like I got a life of my own, and yeah,
Yeah,
and the company that you work for that tells you don't use their equipment or on their time. I
right.
respect that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't do that, and that's fine. But you know what? I'm a taxpayer. I mean, I'm an American. I can do that. I don't call and challenge anybody to a fight. I mean, it's like, a lot of people, get called out for, and a lot of people get so-called canceled for a lot less shit than Trump did. And you can't fucking tell me that people aren't tired of that shit too.
Yeah,
I had a thing the other when Joe Biden dropped out. I was pissed. We talked
I was
about that.
too. Yeah.
I was very pissed, and I was going to vote for whoever. I would vote for. I mean, I would vote for
The proverbial ham
yeah, I
sandwich.
would vote for a ham sandwich supposedly. And I had a friend of mine that's a big Trumper, and he just thought, oh, that what they did to Joe was bad. And I go, what? You motherfucking right, man. I can't vote for anybody else, man. I think I'm going to vote for Trump. I had him fucking going. He goes, really? I go, are you fucking high? I mean, do you not know me? I mean, it's like Jesus. I mean, it's like this is the same guy that came up to me when after the debate, telling me how Biden had to drop out, and I go, have you heard Trump talk? I mean, Biden has a stutter, one thing, and he gets kind of lost. But you know who's fucking still obsessed with Joe Biden, even though he's on the race? That's Donald fucking Trump.
Yeah.
Because Joe Biden dropping out of the race fucked Trump in his mind more than anything.
Absolutely. That's the thing is they were trying to push Joe out being the tough guy.
Yeah,
So Joe steps out. And as you said before, Joe may be slow. He maybe gets lost every once in a while, but he masterminded this whole thing with Kamala Harris.
yeah.
She is where she is now because of Joe Biden. And now they were the dogs that caught the truck. Well, we got rid of Biden. Kamala can't do
Not
anything.
working out.
Now Kamala's walking all over the shit. They fucked up again. And that's the thing. Whenever I hear about the Republicans are going to do this or they say they're going to do this. Why are we worried about this? Every time they try to do something since Joe Biden's been in office, they fucking fail. They're
And
just incompetent. They're inept.
the thing about the Republican Party, it's not that Trump is so great. Their bench is so weak.
Oh, yeah. Who do
I
they
think
got?
Old Souls talked about that, like about how the Democrats have Buttigieg, they have AOC, they have like all these people just waiting.
Jamie Raskin.
Yeah, who the fuck? Who Don Jr.? I mean, and Don Jr. and I say that because Don Jr. is the worst of the bunch. You know why Don Jr. is the worst of the bunch? Because Don Jr. is not the genuine himself.
No, no.
When you watch The Apprentice, he's about the only one that had any sense
Yeah.
on that show. And I'm defending Don Jr., get me wrong, but his dad has beat him down just like his average voter so bad that even his ex said something. He's not like that. He's so beat down by his father. And honestly, I guess I kind of identify with the guy because I went through a lot of that shit, but I grew up out of it.
Yeah.
I grew up out of it, but like we both did. We both had that with our dad. And he didn't do it. I mean, he did it to me for a lot of years, and it took. And I think I see, and that's who I'd say is the worst of the bunch because he could be like a Mary Trump, uses mind or whatever. The
You
other
think
one,
he's
Eric,
that smart? I mean, the trouble is he's drug addled. He's
well,
got the
yeah,
booger sugar
that's
going and
but that's
fucked.
that's
He's
his
good.
dad's
They're gonna
doing.
find him in a tub someday.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it is that they do all that shit towards Hunter. Hunter's not like that. Hunter has lost what? He lost his mom, he lost his
Sister?
brother, his sister. I mean, you talk about the Bidens, how much, I mean, they have gone through, more than, losing a father, losing a child, but to lose two of them.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's like, and it, and it's like identified Don Jr. as like the worst of the Trump fucks. You know what's right, and you still don't do nothing about it. That's the people that enable him that piss me off. That's why I'll never vote. Even when I went and voted for the for here in Bear County, the a lot of the Democratic judges are unopposed because Republicans can't win. But there are a few Republicans who are running unopposed. I'll let those motherfuckers blank. That's how
Yeah.
bitter I am, and that's
Oh,
how I hope the independents and the ex-Republicans like me show up and do that for her. It's one time. Next time, get your shit together. Get a party you can stand by with a Liz Cheney. They're not going to win in a while. I think you're right because it's changing. They're going to
yeah.
have to. They're going to have to. Get more progressive, so to speak.
They are. They're going to have to get more progressive if they're going to compete. You're going to have all these young people voting. Kamala's going to get in. They're going to benefit from Kamala and the Democrats. It's going to be a hard sell in 2028 for the Republicans. You
Have you
know,
noticed? Have you noticed how they're kind of? You said this too that they're kind of talking. The Senate may not be out of Senate may not be out of reach. I mean,
oh,
especially
I don't
if,
think the
if
Senate's out
Cruz,
of reach at all.
but they're talking about Tester a lot. But that guy, I guess he supposedly said he got discharged or something, and it's coming out. Was that him? Some of the Republicans lie. It's just hard to keep up. But and then that independent guy in Nebraska. I mean, I mean, he's running like an independent that Manchin wish he could be.
Yeah,
But he's
yeah.
not. But Kerry Lake's going to lose. I believe that Scott's going to lose. I mean, there will probably be people like you said, excuse me, that are going to lose that the states are going to flip that you didn't even have. You didn't even have. Hell, Hogan is so far behind. He's accepting Trump's praise now. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Trump, he didn't want it at first, but he's losing so bad he thinks that'll help him out. Like
Well,
Trump going to the white nationalists.
when you're talking about the Electoral College and you're talking senators and the Senate races this time, theoretically, or at least historically, this would be a bad time for the Democrats to maintain control because of how many people are up for a reelection. And I've always said, well, that's well and good if this were like the rest of history. But we're seeing things unlike history. Roe v. Wade is a big issue. If Florida has problems voting for Donald Trump, then how does Rick Scott win? He's not going to win. He's the worst amongst them. And Ted Cruz, his own party doesn't like him. He could lose. Larry Hogan's going to lose. Ruben Gallegos is going to be Kerry Lake. That's
Well,
not a
not
pick.
according to her. Not according to her.
Well, yeah. Well,
It's already rigged.
that's not really a pickup of a seat, but it is an
Well, it is.
advantage because we'll have a real Democrat in there as opposed to Christian Cinema. So uh, the one race that everybody's concerned about where we might lose a spot is in West Virginia, where Manchin's spot, and they're likely to go Republican. We don't know that it's going to go Republican, but it could. It probably will. So that's one we lose, but we could pick up three more.
What about Tester? And they're kind of worried about Tester in Montana.
You know,
But his opponents come out though. Like I guess he was. I guess something's come out against him. That was it him or some other Republican that said he served or he didn't get. He just honorable discharge.
his opponent, yeah. Well, his opponent is a carpetbagger. He's from Minnesota. Um, I don't understand why they keep pressing. Well, it's going to be hard for Tester because of polling. Well, polling's bullshit. Tester is native Montanan. He has a ranch. He works the ranch.
Yeah.
This fucking clown, if you saw the debate with Tester and him, it wasn't even close. I can't believe Montana would be dumb enough to vote for this guy. This is just another clown that came up through the Trump ranks to try to run against Tester. I don't think that's going to be as close as they say it is. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't. I mean, Montanans, what little I know about them, they're kind of concerned about their land and their property, and who
Oh yeah.
better to elect than a guy who's been there already two or
Yeah.
three terms and is a fucking landowner and a rancher in that state. I find it hard to imagine that that's going to be a loss for Tester. I don't know how that would be possible.
Question for you: you're in a blue state.
Yep,
Do you have straight line voting, or do you have to do it into like each one?
each one.
Yeah, because Texas used to have straight line voting, and I just wish for this election we still did, because this would have been the best time for Texas to turn blue.
Well,
Because
that's
I
why they
used to,
switched it
yeah,
because it
they did it
fucked
a few
them.
years. They did it a few years ago, and I couldn't figure out why. Now it's like, well, duh. And because I mean, but when I voted Republican, I voted straight. You know what I
Well,
mean?
so for people who aren't in those states that don't understand what that means if you have a ballot and you vote blue for president, you have to vote blue all the way down. And that was
No, not in Texas. It wasn't that way. You could have that option, or you could break them up. Texas had that option where you could vote for a you could vote for a Democratic president, and you could vote differently on there, or you
well,
have the option to vote
well
straight
then
ticket.
what do you mean by a straight line vote?
Straight ticket.
Straight
Straight
ticket.
ticket is like you have the option to vote straight Republican, state Democrat, or you can mix it up.
Oh, you mean instead of you're just talking about making it easy. You got a
Yeah,
box.
they used to have straight. Well, yeah, maybe I'm using the wrong word,
No,
but
I don't know.
they used to have it here, and it's funny how it's a federal election, but different states have different rules. We need to like kind of look into that and make it all
Yeah.
the same. But they had it to where you could vote, and they voted to do that off because they own the legislature. So
So
they saw this coming.
it wasn't a mandatory thing, it was a lazy thing.
Yes,
Somebody didn't want to go through every race and they just said I'm voting Republican all the way.
yeah.
Okay, I
They
got you.
just they didn't. I'm telling you, Texas has a thing where people will not vote for if there's a D next to the name, and now I'm on the opposite. I won't win anything with an R next to the name, so I'm kind of that kind of guy on the other side now.
That's exactly who I am. I had somebody come up to me running for city council or something. Um, and they started talking to me. They didn't know who they were talking to. And I said, what party are you with? Well, that doesn't really matter in city council. We're all working for the city. No, what party are you with? And they said, well, I'm Republican. I go, sorry, I'm not going to vote for you. I don't even want to hear what you have to say. I know I don't like you already. So keep walking, motherfucker. And they were a little upset about that. I go, no, because if I let one Republican in my city council, next thing I know, you're in the legislature. Next thing I know, you're in the House of Representatives and you're run. I said, excuse me for saying this, but I look at Republicans as a cancer, and we got to cut out every fucking single piece down to the dog catcher. Otherwise, you might grow and metastasize and give us trouble again. Um, I don't think
Yeah,
they like. I don't think they like me. I think they took offense to that, but I'm fucking cool with it.
what gave it away?
I try
Yeah,
to be sensitive.
it's funny. I don't know if it was 2020, but you're retired, you can do that kind of shit. I was left work and I had my work shirt on, and this guy came up to me and I knew who he was, and he started talking to me, and I go, "Oh, have a good day," and I waved him off because I know I'd be on the news. You motherfucker, with my company shirt on right there. This guy who works for, and I was like, yeah, and I was like, I've gotten to the age where I've learned to avoid arguments when you can, and not to read the comment section, because when you read the comment section, you realize the Darwin Awards don't spread out quite enough.
No, and neither do family trees.
Yeah.
But I mean, conversely to you, uh, I would be standing there. Put me on the motherfucking news. Let me talk. Um, but that's what we were talking about. Working for people and being careful about what you say and stuff like that. That's why I honestly believe people like me are the true benefit truly of the First Amendment. The First Amendment says we can say whatever we want, but your boss may say something different. Your
Yeah.
family may say something different. Your church may say something different. I literally don't have anybody telling me not to say something. And I feel a certain amount of not only power in doing that. When I started doing this, I felt some responsibility. If I'm one of the few that can say this and not worry about what's coming back on me, not giving a fuck, maybe I can speak for those people who want to say something but can't. Somebody's got to yell this shit from the mountaintop, so might as well be me.
Yeah, and I know that you're dedicated because when you came back from LA, I got in the morning, I was going to work, I saw 45 minutes. I'm like, man, that's kind of short for, especially with, big talkers like us, And I was like, I get he did it alone, and I bet he was tired. But you know what? He still motherfucking did it.
I did. I got it. We got in here at 1 o'clock in the morning. And my wife says, "What are you doing?" I go, "I got to do a show." Well, you didn't do anything. You've been on a plane for 3, 4
You don't
hours.
understand.
I said, I'm going to catch up with the news and then I'm just going to just wing it. She goes, "Can you do that?" I go, "Honey, you know me, I can go 2 hours without even knowing what I'm talking about." And I know what I'm talking about here. So I did it. I was tired. I did not want to do it, but I set the tone for this podcast. When I initially did it, I did it a couple days a week. And I thought, I'm not really being able to be up to date on things. I should maybe try to do it more times a week. And then I started doing it every time of the week. I said, fuck, I can do that. And now I'm locked in that I got to do it every day of the week. Um, and it's really not as hard as people think. I used to be on the air 7 hours a day. So to sit down for an hour, hour and a half, you notice whenever I do a show by myself, it's usually an hour. I don't push it to an hour and a half. I figure by that time, if I'm tired of hearing myself talk, so are other people.
Well, we appreciate you, Mike, us in the Boomer Brigade and Old Soul and Will and Eric and some guy from Texas named Jace. It's like it's the Boomer Brigade, man. I mean, like I said, when I discovered you, I was freaking out about that red wave in 2022, and I got on there and I listened to you, and I guess it's weird about TikTok is when it's funny I've actually bought a couple things on their shops
So am
because
I.
they're cheaper than Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's like once you look at one of those things, the For You page, they're like give you 20 other versions of that. So I followed you. I got followed you, and I listened to you, and I sent it to a couple of my friends that listened to it and everything. And, hey, this guy's right, and he's saying and
He's
my
crazy, but
yeah yeah my friend Laura, she listens. Hi Laura, she's retired and she listens to it, and she was kind of, well, I've been telling you that, and stuff. I was like, yeah, but it's not on TikTok. You know what I mean? It's like and it's something about it, and I think what you do is you're a lot more real than a lot of. It's not about you,
no, it's not
and
about me.
everybody talks about Huck and stuff, and he's got good points, but it just sometimes makes it about how he's feeling. I don't care how you're feeling. I don't really care about. I like it when he talks about the bands and stuff. I think that's cool. I like being a musician,
I
but
listen to him.
I like it when it's about like what you talk about. Is that yeah, you talk about your family here and there, but you're not emotional. You don't have an emotional thing to it. You're confident, and that's what people need. They don't need somebody. Well, I don't know. It's looking bad. I mean, no, motherfucker. Tell them. And Walter Cronkite didn't do that. I mean, the only
No,
time people saw Walter Cronkite break down was when JFK got killed. I mean, it's because and it's like you got to have, and I think that's what's missing in a lot of media is just you're telling them this thing. You get the facts. You have people on that back it up, and I think that you get a real home run, and when you have listeners, because
yeah,
your listeners identify with the listeners on the show.
exactly. Exactly. Whenever I watch TikTok and I see somebody coming out crying, I'm sorry I'm not sensitive enough, but I don't want to see somebody on TikTok crying, "Oh, I'm in the hospital. Oh, I got trouble with my bills." They aren't here to hear about you because I'm nobody. I'm nobody until I give them information they want and they value. I'm just the delivery guy. I'm not, yeah, I'm fortunate. My life is pretty calm and pretty steady, and I have a good life. I'm not going to come out here and crow about that because other people don't. What my personal shit is doesn't matter. I've been going back and forth with my son because he's starting a new job and he's got anxiety and stuff. I go, take the fucking emotion out of it. He's dealing with a new technical system to do this, and it's very old and antiquated, and it's cumbersome. He goes, I'm having trouble figuring this out. I go, dude, you're an IT guy. If anybody in my family has a problem with a computer or a phone, they go to you. You know how to do all this stuff. It's just going to take you a week to figure it out, and then it's going
Oh
to be
yeah.
second nature. And I think people want things simplified because the media doesn't do it, the politicians don't do it. They make it confusing and convoluted. Uh, the only thing I try to do is try to make it simpler to understand. And I'm gratified to know that people are being calmed by that. But you have to understand the reason I do that is because that's how I think. Anytime I have a problem, I look at it, I look at all the angles, I analyze it, and try to boil it down to simple terms so I can deal with it. So I'm doing this as much for myself, and then if other people get benefit from it, fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think also too, you take out that part to where you're giving your opinion. I mean, you're not
Well,
100% right about everything, but who is?
yeah, and there's no shame in being wrong.
No.
A lot of people get their ego hurt when they're wrong. Oh my God, I was wrong. I'll tell you when I'm wrong. I'm wrong frequently. But I'm less wrong than half these motherfuckers out here because they're going on emotions.
It'd be like with you having Will on the show, and say Will says something that, pisses a bunch of people off, and you get up there, Mike, I don't know Will, never met him, never saw him in my life, don't know who he is. I mean, it's like, Trump never knows anybody. There's an old cartoon in the younger generation, they look up, it's called Family Circus.
Yeah.
And they had all these kids, and the mom and dad would ask them, who did this? Who did that? And not me, not me. And you know what not me was? It was like a little ghost running away.
Yeah.
Who did that? Not me, not me. That's exactly what Trump is. He's a spoiled brat that never got told no.
Right. Exactly.
That's why he can't he's still not over 2020. And it's like, he hasn't been the same since the debate. The media is not covering how fucked up he is since the debate. And when he loses Tuesday to a woman of color and a woman, period, and they're like, well, he may claim he won. Of course he's going to claim he won. It didn't
Well, who
take Albert
cares?
Einstein to see that. He did this before. But people, as the boomer says, he did all this shit when he was in power.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that anymore. And
No,
in
you
court,
have no.
Supreme Court, Biden's got immunity.
Well,
Biden can step down, and Kamala can make herself queen.
yeah, exactly. Well, I did a TikTok yesterday. And I don't know. I think of weird things. Donald Trump says the election was rigged in 2020, that he really won.
Of
He has
course.
no evidence. There was no wins in court. He lost every time in court, but he insists,
Well, Joe Rogan even asked about the evidence.
and he couldn't answer. But he says the Democrats stole it from him in 2020.
Of
Now he's
course.
already bitching about them stealing it from him in 2024.
Of course.
Kamala will win, she'll be president, and he won't. Let's just say, for example, Donald Trump is right and the Democrats stole it from him in 2020 and they do it in 2024. Well, you pussy ass gullible bitches. How did these weak ass Democrats kick your ass twice in a row? Jesus Christ. You can whine about this stuff, but it really makes you look fucking weak if it were true. And it's not true, but um, these people will say anything that comes out of their head just to try to gain some traction. And they fail every time.
Yeah, there was something going on that I tell my Republican buddies, this stuff like that, I always rub it in their face. And they say something, and they always draw up the stuff about it being rigged. I go, and I look at them, and I know we both bitch about the media, but I go, when you start blaming the media, you've already lost. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, it's not that's what we're talking about, the media being complicit with it.
Right.
But if you start doing that, you've already lost. If you start making excuses, I mean, my God, they're starting lawsuits, and people haven't even voted yet on. Most of them haven't voted yet.
That tells me they're scared and they know they're going to lose.
And they're trying, and they're setting like they're setting drop off boxes on fire. It was a Republican that did that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and I never have, and all of a sudden the Republicans are for early voting. They weren't with Trump.
Well, because they saw they were losing when they said don't vote early, and then they changed right in the middle of the stream and said, okay, yeah, you can vote early. It's okay now. It's not corrupt.
And you've seen two recent National Organization of Women award winners, Jesse Waters and Newt Gingrich, bitching about how, Julia Roberts is out there saying you don't have to tell your husband who you voted for. Well, that should be the fucking way it is all the time.
Yeah.
You don't owe nobody nothing. And that's the difference between Republicans and women. Hello, Republicans and Democrats. Democrats, woman, you're your own person. A Republican, like the Jesse Waters and the Newt Gingrich, who cheated on his wife while she was dying of cancer, but still gave Bill Clinton a shit about a blowjob.
Yeah.
And, that's the way Democrats, and I think Kamala is going to identify with a lot of women. And I think there'll be a lot of women that vote for her that they're not seeing. And I think, Jesse Waters or Newt Gingrich, they see that shit coming.
Oh, they do.
And it's like
well, they know the Roe v. Wade is a huge issue to women. You're taking constitutional rights away from women. And even if you're a Republican, you can get pregnant or have some kind of pregnancy a problem. They know it's their very life that's at risk. And even if they are Republican, they're probably going to vote Democrat.
But motherfucker, if you're a young man under, young man in his prime, and you know what I'm talking about. I mean, do you really want them to go after contraceptives? Because that's next.
Yeah.
Because Clarence Thomas has talked about protection, like contraception. And it's like, you think there's a lot of abortions now if they get rid of contraceptions? Because guys aren't going to stop being guys, and if you're younger and you're voting for this shit to where you don't have the protection from, becoming a father at 21 or, 20, when you're in the, prime of your life, if you don't want to be one, why would you vote for Trump? Because it's like he was pro-choice before they told him it was a losing thing to become a Republican. He don't care.
No.
He's over it. And there's all these rumors about, having abortions. Oh, there's things that he came out. It doesn't surprise me who he is.
No, not at all. I'm sure he has had abortions.
And when I see Trump, and I see Trump out there, and people get so surprised about what he's done. It doesn't surprise me. People like, they talk about the racist stuff. I guess because I kind of grew up around that down here, it doesn't surprise me. This is who the people are.
Yeah.
After 9 years, the abortion thing, it just, it used to be a Bill Clinton joke back in the day about how, they called him up and they were trying to pass this abortion bill, and they called Bill Clinton and they go, Mr. Clinton, what is it about? He goes, it's the abortion bill. And Bill Clinton goes, well, go ahead and pay it. So, yeah. That's a bad joke, but well, it's just
legit.
It just shows you that, it's not just abortion. Abortion's the biggest thing because it's happened that women, their mothers and grandmothers had more rights than they do, but it's not just going to stop with abortion.
No.
It's going to start. They want to look at interracial marriage. They want to look at, in which Clarence Thomas, I guess he's shit out of luck. And maybe he wants to pass that on purpose. And then contraception for men, and you talk about.
Well, if you were married to Ginny Thomas, you'd say, "Sorry, honey, we got to break up."
And which party do you think is more likely to install the draft? It
Yeah,
ain't going to be Democrats. It's going to be the Warhawks.
yeah,
If anything, Democrats get us out of this shit, like Obama and Biden.
right, right. I heard a story. There are some people that worked with Donald Trump and were contestants on Donald Trump's TV show, The Apprentice. And we talk about racist tendencies. One of these women came out and said that they didn't do it, but Donald Trump had the idea of having two teams like they had, one team against the other team, but he wanted to do it where one team was black and one team was white. Now, why would he want to do that?
Because he's racist.
The motherfucker's so racist. I got to tell you this, Jace. Um, I can't wait till November 6th because I think we'll have a pretty good idea who won this because she'll win by a significant amount. I can't wait to go on my motherfucking tour because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be calling out Republicans. I'm going to be laughing in their faces and they're going to hate me even more. And you know what? Good. Fucking good. We've dealt with this for so long. There's got to be a win for the Democrats, and that's going to happen on November 5th.
And what I'm going to be happy with, I don't have to see Ted Cruz's freaking mug on my TV anymore, And, it's so funny.
You can always be on his podcast, though. He's got a big podcast. I don't know if you heard.
After this one, I might send him a copy and I could be on there. He's going to have plenty of time, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's like he goes and dresses up in camo, and a lot of people call it cosplay. They do it.
Yeah.
But every commercial I've seen him in, he's wearing blue jeans.
Yeah.
And it's like, I saw something up here. Chip Roy's district is like, I'm right outside of it. I'm in Tony Gonzalez's district, and I put on TikTok. This person said something about. He posted. I guess he follows him around. He's a local guy, and I go, man, I wish Chip Roy was in my district. And like, and I all these people, why? Because I could vote against the motherfucker, And I mean, it's just. Tony Gonzalez was up there. I haven't seen too much of him. He may think his seat's safe, and it probably is. But I think Ted is. They say he's polling. I know we don't wear in polls, but we always talk about him. That he's polling under Trump.
Yeah.
That Beto came close to winning, but it was in 2018. It wasn't an election, so she may push him over. She may not win Texas. But God, Ted Cruz we might see more of him now that he'll be like a what do they call those people that always try to get stuff passed,
lobbyist.
A lobbyist. So we may see, especially down here, more of it. But
I would give Ted Cruz this tip. I know he's trying to be like one of the real folks where he wears the jeans, like you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Ted, I would get some better jeans. A grown man wearing mom jeans probably aren't going to be giving the same kind of vibe that you're hoping for.
Yeah. And there's a Democrat down here. They had a thing on the news about all these teachers that like 200 of them, there was some kind of ring going on where this like teacher was taking these tests for these teachers that would fail the exam to become a teacher. And there's like 200 of them throughout the state that are teachers. But the lady that's a prosecutor out of Houston, I think her name is Odd or some, she's on there. I'm a Democrat and I'm going for Ted Cruz. And it's like, and it's like, it's like Colin said, it's like, when you always hear what Ted's against, like supposedly, the bathroom thing going on, which isn't happening.
Right.
But you never hear what he's done for the state of Texas. And he's been up there since what? I guess 14.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, man. I mean, he shut down the government the one time because of the Obamacare.
Right.
I mean, if anybody that's out there that's on the fence, that's listening right now nationally, if you think your vote doesn't count, I mean, I think Eric said something about like, I guess one of the races in Iowa, I guess it was like by a couple votes or something like that. If you don't think it's good enough to vote, then I mean, it's like every vote counts. And it's like you got to get out there. I mean, do your research. I mean, if Trump's your guy, stay home. No, just kidding.
Yeah, stay the
But
fuck
if
home.
Trump's your guy, you're not listening to this podcast anyway. But if you're a rational boomer brigader and you haven't voted yet, get up, go there. If you still have voting over the weekend, do it, but vote. I mean, because and it's not something to say this. If Trump wins, this will be the last election. It will be. It will be, and democracy is on the docket along with abortion, and I mean, if you're, I mean, if you're anything that's not in their quote unquote group, then you're in danger, and you're gonna, and if he wins, those stories you hear from Old Soul, that's going to be everywhere
It is going
because
to be everywhere.
states they'll be all red.
But for those people on the ledge, I have to qualify what you've been talking about. Donald Trump is not going to win.
I know.
My only question is Kamala Harris going to win in a big way, or is she going to win in a landslide? She's going to win. There's just no two ways about it. She's going to win. I'm excited about it. She's one of the few presidential candidates that I'm truly excited about because I think she's probably the best qualified, got the best temperament. She can be compassionate, but also tough. She's a prosecutor at heart. She's probably exactly what we need. And the fact that she's a woman and a woman of color makes no fucking difference this time around.
Well, everybody talks about how fucked up America is. I even, fucked up and all this shit. Well, old white men have been running it since it started. It was pretty good under Obama, even for somebody that didn't vote for him. You know what I mean? It's been great under Biden.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, I hear these Republicans now that have run this state saying, under Biden Harris, no, motherfuckers, you ran this state for 30 fucking years. It ain't the federal shit.
No.
But you know what I mean? And if you, and you, like I always say, turn off fucking mainstream media and turn on the rational boomer.
Well, you talked about going after the media, and I'm going to go after the media if she wins in a landslide because they've done us a disservice by putting people uh, in anxious states for the last 2 years by not telling us the truth. They're either going to say, well, we follow the polls. My question is, if you're a news organization, why is your main source something you know to be wrong on a regular basis? Maybe you better get some better sources or at least use some common sense. The other part of it is they're doing it on purpose to manipulate us, to fuck with our heads. And that's a problem for me. If that's what they're doing, you don't want to watch them anymore. I won't watch them anymore.
And when she wins, I think you're starting to see the end of media as we see it, mainstream media.
As we know it, yeah.
We know it because for so many years, the liberal media, and Republicans just play fucking victims. That's all they do.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see, unfortunately, people like Joe Rogan, and Tucker Carlson, you're starting to see that there too. But you're seeing the Midas touch. You're seeing Howard Stern. He's not exactly a news guy, but Kamala went towards that. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
and she didn't go on Rogan because Rogan had the audacity to make her go there. Of course, Trump went there because he's desperate. He's not the sitting vice president. So and even like we talked about it too. Let him do Rogan. He exposed himself. Rogan didn't bend over for him. Rogan, like, where's your proof at? I mean, Rogan's crowd is not Rogan's crowd. They're the young guys, but they're not necessarily Trump-fucks. They're probably just a guy that's not really involved that much.
They don't know shit about shit.
Yeah, they want to smoke pot and get high, and stuff like that.
And take creatine or some shit.
Yeah, but it's like Trump just needs to talk and let him talk. And when he loses on Tuesday, he's going to talk more. He's going to talk more. And then in 2 weeks, he's going to get sentenced.
Well, Joe Rogan described himself one time as just a dumbass, and I couldn't agree more. He is a dumbass. He's not well informed. He has an audience. I can't begrudge him that.
Yeah.
But the audience probably isn't a bright crowd either. And I can say that because even if people who listen to this podcast listen to Joe Rogan, they know I'm right. I mean, the crazy shit he talks about, and
Well, Joe
and
Rogan said
think
it
on
to his
things.
face. He said it to his face. She wasn't stupid. He was talking to Trump and said she's not stupid. She'd come on here. I mean, Joe Rogan wasn't a Sean Hannity. Joe
No, no,
Rogan,
he's not that.
and I don't listen to the guy most, but I'm just saying, Trump didn't get the audience he thought he would probably get.
Well, but Rogan is trying to stay neutral because he's smart enough to see what's going to
Oh yeah,
happen.
oh yeah,
But
he's
but
sick.
at the same time, he's kind of a meathead, you know,
Oh yeah.
a bro, you know. Oh, check out that chick, you
Well,
know that.
that's his audience.
Yeah, it is. It's his audience. I mean,
He never grew out of the when we were like 20 to 35 or whatever.
right. I remember Joe on news radio. Kind of funny then, but ever since I've not been interested.
Yeah,
It
I just
doesn't.
can't take advice from somebody that eats like monkey brains or whatever. Like on what was that show he was on about the
Yeah, a
yeah
Fear Factor.
Fear Factor.
That made me question his credibility when he was on that show.
They don't have that that fucking intelligence that us two handsome dudes man do.
Exactly. I'd love to talk to Rogan. He'd never had me on the show. I'd have Rogan on this show though. Probably give me a bigger audience, but I
He kind of fucked with JD Vance a little bit. JD Vance, I don't think
good.
he should have watched the Trump interview because I mean he really I mean I think I think Kamala would have done good. Like Rogan said to Trump, yeah, she'll do fine on here. She's not afraid.
Yeah.
But Vance, they're so like you said, they're like that student that doesn't do the homework that just shows up thinking they're just gonna talk their way out of it because that's Trump's biggest weakness is that he thinks the rest of us are as I would say stupid or as clueless as his base. And I agree with you. They say fuck Joe Biden all these years. Let's go Brandon. But when Biden says something, oh no, the party of fuck your feelings sure crying a lot lately.
He called them garbage. And I
Yes,
said, that may be not the most tactful or sensitive thing, but
or
you
most
can't say it's
mindful.
not accurate.
Yeah,
You
maybe
can't say
not.
it's not accurate.
I know what Kamala's doing because they asked her that too when Brett Baer was interviewing her. I would never say that about the American voter. Kamala is different.
Yeah.
Kamala. Let's face it. Kamala has a bigger hill to climb than Biden did.
Yeah.
Biden's an old white dude.
Yeah.
Kamala's a woman. She's a woman of color. She's been in politics. I mean, not as long as Biden. She has a tougher hill to climb. So I get what she's doing.
But I tell you this, the one big difference between Biden and Kamala Harris is enthusiasm. When
Yes,
Joe Biden was running against Donald Trump, there wasn't that much enthusiasm. There was just that much hate and fear of Donald Trump. And
and
that's why he
relief.
did so
Number
well.
one.
Now we've got the fear and the hate of Donald Trump even more so, and enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. That's
And
why
a
it
lot of
seems like a no brainer that she's going to win.
his base have died on, and the rest
Yeah.
of them have moved on.
Yeah. See ya, boomers. And I'm a boomer. I'm just, I haven't got my date yet, but 5,000 a day, that's a lot of them.
I'm
I
right
just,
behind you, Mike. I'm right behind you. I'm
I
not
just,
pushing you. I'm just right behind you.
I just hope that if my number comes up, I, I can do it on the show. Then all of a sudden just go and they'll run a break there for something stupid.
You never heard that? You never heard that saying? You ever have a fear of dying alone? Become a bus driver.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. That's like Rodney Dangerfield when he said, "Yeah, I remember my first sexual experience. The worst part of it is I was alone."
Oh man.
Um,
Well, I
anyway,
guess we're not going to become stand-up comedians.
no. But I am funnier than Tony Hinchcliffe. I don't care what anybody fucking says. That dipshit, he pretty much drowned his career.
And Rogan even told him not to do that joke.
Well, he
Do that.
shouldn't.
That'll kill in the club, but not in front.
Yeah, you got to think about where you're doing it and who your audience is and the media and stuff. That was a dumb choice, and it wasn't even funny jokes.
It wasn't.
It was weak comedic
What
jokes.
part of calling Puerto Rico trash is funny?
Well, he said, well, it was taken out of context.
Well, it
Well,
wasn't.
tell me what context it isn't racist, because I don't get it.
Is he the same one that said that about the Mexicans coming inside? Is he the same one that said
Yeah,
that?
same guy.
I listened to parts of it, but it had a coworker telling me something about Dave Ramsey the other day.
He's a piece
I
of
was
shit.
like, okay. And then she goes, yeah, he was interviewed by Tucker Carlson. I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I just gotta go. I just I see all that shit and I just try to tune it out. And so I saw the jokes, I guess, so to speak. But I mean, it's that was pre-approved because they were going to call her the C word. I mean, the C word was where you drop it out at. It's like,
But you can call the Puerto Ricans garbage. That's fine. Just don't call her the C word. She is, but we don't want to say it because we'll get in trouble.
and you hear those stories from Amorosa that was on The Apprentice that there's a tape of him saying the N word.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, and we're like, people are shocked. I'm like, have you not been paying attention?
Apparently not. Apparently not. They are oblivious. Well, Jace, we're going to wrap things up. Just last thing. I probably won't talk to you before the election. What's your guess on what happens November 5th?
I think she wins. I think she wins Florida, and I think she gets North Carolina and
Wow.
Georgia. And I think with Florida, that'll put her over. I'm, man, if she gets Texas, dude, I'm going to be on like 7 days a week on the Rational Boomer, celebrating so much. I'm going to beat Rose record.
How about
And,
Pennsylvania?
yeah, she's going to win that. I think Pennsylvania's a given. I think she's going to win it. I think Colin Allred's going to win, and I think Scott's going to lose. And I think she's going to win, and I don't think it's going to be close. Do I think
No.
it's going to be a landslide? I'm thinking it's going to be Obama-esque 2012 numbers.
I think
Because
it could be a landslide, but I'm not going to say that because I'm not sure.
well, I'll say it for you. It's going to be a fucking landslide. How's that?
There you go. I'm
Yeah,
with
if
you.
she wins Texas, it's a landslide. But of course, Trump's going to win California. So what do I fucking know?
Well, if she wins Florida and Pennsylvania, it's going to probably be close to a landslide.
Well, I think North Carolina. I think North Carolina's in play, and I think like it's like you said, there are going to be a lot of places. And I tell you what, if Texas doesn't flip blue for her, but Colin wins, if
That's a
she
win.
if she's enough, because like I said, 18 wasn't an election year, but if she's enough to push him over, I don't see how she doesn't gain on Biden's numbers because Biden didn't lose by that much here either.
No, he did. He didn't. And I will just say this: 155 million votes in 2020. Joe got 81. Trump got 74.
She may
I
be over
think
100 million.
I think there's going to be more votes this time than 2020, without question.
Well,
More
fuck,
than
Mike,
that.
I know there's going to be because I got that Soros check and I went and voted 15 fucking times.
There
Did
you
you get
go.
yours?
I
Did you
haven't
get
got,
yours?
well, I haven't got the check yet, but I've only voted once. But Soros, if you're listening, grease the palm and I'll go out there another 25 times. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thanks, Jace, for coming on. We'll keep our fingers crossed, but I'm not worried about November 5th. And we'll have
Hey,
you
I'm
by.
fingers crossed, genie rubbing the genie bottle, any fucking thing. I mean, I'll pray to anything that, just, hey, it won't hurt. Let's just say that. I got some voodoo shit going on after the show.
Yeah, and you're an agnostic, right?
Yeah, I'll pray to anybody listening.
If you've got an agnostic brain, you know there's some serious support going on. Well, thanks for coming in, Jace. We'll talk to you after the election. Those of you listening, thanks for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.